My name is Aaron Hale, and today I'm going to tell you about the morning everything at my company started to unravel. The day a man walked in believing he owned the place before he'd even earned a desk. What followed wasn't just about losing a job. It was about learning who really keeps a business alive when the people at the top forget what integrity looks like. Stay with me. You'll want to hear this. And before we begin, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your words keep these true-to-life stories coming every week. The first time I saw Julian Mercer, he swept through Northfield Solutions' main reception like a storm that had somewhere better to be. His polished Oxford struck the tiles hard enough to echo across the lobby. No greeting, no eye contact. Just a man with a black attaché case and a face carved with certainty. They said he was our new chief executive officer, barely in his mid-30s, but walking like the universe already owed him results. Confidence like that isn't energy. It's a warning. I'd seen it before in this building, and it never ended well. I watched from my senior office, a third coffee cup cooling beside a stack of quarterly reports. The memo had arrived earlier that week. Please welcome Julian Mercer as our new chief executive officer, leading us into a fresh phase of innovation. Same recycled script. 2 decades here, and I could read between those lines. Fresh phase always meant someone was about to disappear. He passed my doorway without a glance, heading toward the executive wing. Not a nod, not even a blink. That told me everything I needed to know. For 20 years, I'd worked my way from logistics to international client relations, managing partnerships that kept this company breathing, especially our account with Pacific Harbor Automotive in Sakuma, one of the hardest to earn and easiest to lose. But Julian Mercer wasn't thinking about trust or relationships. Guys like him only saw ledgers and targets. By midweek of week 2, the air inside Northfield felt charged, like static before a storm. People whispered behind closed-glass offices, HR staff glided down halls like ghosts, and monitors flickered with spreadsheets that no one was really reading. Then it started. Names vanished from inboxes. Managers with 20 years of steady hands just disappeared. Some cleared their desks quietly. Others walked into a meeting and never came back. Their seats were filled the next morning with Mercer's recruits. Slick suits, fancy watches, empty words. They were fresh from Pro Network, full of buzzwords and hollow smiles. One of them, barely old enough to rent a car, stopped by my desk. "Hey, do we have a client contact list for all regional heads? Can't find it in the shared drive." I looked up. "You mean the list we retired 4 years ago when we centralized everything?" He blinked. "Oh, I'll check on that." I let him walk off. He'd be gone before the fiscal year ended. They called it modernization. Installed mounted displays, adjustable desks, even a refreshment bar on the top floor. Like fancy furniture could fix broken leadership. But behind the new paint, something vital was being gutted. I buried myself in the Pacific Harbor project, triple-checking every update from Sakuma, because I knew how fragile loyalty could be. Julian was cutting too fast, too deep, and too blind. You could sense it in every hushed hallway. Layoffs first, restructuring next, then the long, slow bleed. Late that week, I passed the staff pantry and found Rosa Kim from accounting sitting alone, face pale, coffee untouched. Her supervisor was gone. Her backup, too. And some kid with a Midwestern Business School diploma was now telling her how to do the job she'd mastered for 15 years. That's the thing about fear. It doesn't shout. It makes everyone whisper. The day I learned just how replaceable loyalty can be, I made myself a promise. If Julian Mercer ever came for me, it was going to cost him far more than he expected. Late last week, the entire staff was herded into the main boardroom. Same burnt coffee, same unyielding chairs, same silence that clung to the air. Julian stood in front like he was delivering a speech to shareholders instead of the people keeping the company afloat. His sleeves were rolled up, voice steady, hands cutting the air as he spoke about cutting inefficiencies, aligning strategy, and strengthening long-term vision. He said it like he'd discovered gravity. A few of his hand-picked hires nodded like obedient students. The rest of us barely breathed. Then came the blow. Every department will be reviewed over the next 2 weeks. No exceptions. Nobody spoke. I watched as my shoulders tightened and my eyes darted toward the exit. A few people stared at their phones, checking messages, checking savings, checking hope. Some had teenagers at home. Some had mortgages older than Julian himself. He kept talking, full of buzzwords. We're moving to leaner, smarter operations. Every position must deliver a clear, measurable impact. That phrase, measurable impact, hit like a bullet. It never means progress. It means somebody's job is already gone. When the meeting ended, everyone scattered, pretending to be busy, pretending to matter. I was packing my notes when his voice came from behind me. "Hey, remind me. Your name again?" I turned, calm as I could manage. "Aaron Hale," he blinked, forcing a smile. Right. And what exactly do you handle here?" "I manage our East Asia accounts," I said evenly. "Cultural relations, contract renewals, logistics, mainly Pacific Harbor Automotive in Sakuma." His expression froze somewhere between confusion and disinterest. Then that rehearsed smile again. "Good stuff. Appreciate the effort. We're actually outsourcing most of that soon," and he walked away. Just like that. No follow-up, no context. I stood there for a moment watching him leave and realized he didn't understand a thing about the work. He didn't see the dinners that turned negotiations into trust, or the trips halfway across the world just to shake a hand the right way. He didn't know one careless email could end a $1 million relationship overnight, not because of numbers, but pride. Back in my senior office, I opened the Pacific Harbor renewal file. The new deal was only weeks away. If he let that account slip, the entire division would collapse like wet paper. Around mid-afternoon, I passed Ms. Blake, the head of people, in the hallway. She paused, pale, a HR folder clutched to her chest. Her fingers fidgeted with the paper edge like she wanted to speak but couldn't. That's when I knew. My number was coming up. Early Friday, the email arrived at 08:15. Subject, meeting, 10:30 a.m. Attendees, Julian Mercer, Ms. Blake. No agenda. No explanation. Just the two names you never want to see together. The office was quieter than usual that morning. Desks looked staged. Screens glowed, but no one typed. I saw HR already stationed by the boardroom, coffee untouched, eyes down. I went to my desk and started tidying. Not out of sentiment, just routine. Notebook closed. Desktop stapler straightened. Keyboard centered. 2 decades reduced to a neat workspace. At 10:29, I knocked once and stepped in. Julian was already leaning back, confidence spilling off him like cologne. "Aaron," he said brightly, "thanks for coming." I didn't bother replying. He launched straight into it. "We've reviewed departmental alignment and identified overlap in international operations. The company's transitioning to a leaner model." Ms. Blake nodded rhythmically beside him. Her face said more than her words ever could. Julian went on, polished and empty. "We truly appreciate your years of contribution. This isn't performance-related. It's restructuring." I could have said the lines with him. I'd heard them a dozen times over the years. When he paused for breath, I met his eyes. "You're sure you can handle Pacific Harbor without me?" His grin didn't falter. "We'll be just fine." That was the moment I stopped feeling angry. I felt something colder. Clarity. He slid a sealed envelope across the table. "This outlines your severance package and vacation payout." I didn't touch it. Didn't shake his hand. Didn't even glance at Ms. Blake. I simply rose, straightened my jacket, and said, "Then I guess that's that." No handshake. No thank you. Just two people pretending it was business as usual. When I walked out, the hallway seemed longer than it had that morning. Eyes stayed glued to screens. No one wanted to be the one who looked at me. I didn't hold it against them. That's what fear does, makes silence contagious. The phrase, "glad it wasn't me," hung heavy in the air, even if no one spoke it. Outside, rain hammered the parking lot. I didn't run, didn't hide my face, just walked through it, feeling the water slide under my collar, soaking my shirt. But beneath the noise, there was something else. an unexpected calm. Because while Mercer thought he'd ended my story, I already knew better. He'd just started the next chapter. I didn't need to chase revenge. The opportunity would walk straight to my door. That weekend, I cleared out my home office, shredded old client files, boxed up archives, and wiped my company laptop clean. The room looked strange afterward, hollow and waiting, like a stage after the curtain fell. A few former coworkers texted, "Tough break, man," or "You'll land on your feet." Nice words, empty air. Fear kept most of them quiet, and I didn't blame them. Fear grows loud when you're next in line. Then, Sunday night, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years. Victor Ames. We'd met long ago at an auto trade conference in Mesa, when he was a strategy lead at Calder & Pike, a sharp boutique firm known for fixing messes like Northfield's. His message was short. "Are you free to talk Monday morning? Got something for you." At 09 Wur, I stepped into Calder & Pike's city office. Clean glass, quiet confidence, not a motivational poster in sight. Victor greeted me with a handshake that carried weight. Not formality, but respect. No slideshow, no buzzwords. Just two people who spoke the same language. Results. By noon, I had an offer on paper. Higher pay, better authority, and most importantly, dignity. That evening, I poured a glass of single malt on the back porch. For the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy. I thought the chapter was over. It wasn't. Tuesday morning, a text pinged from an old contact still at Northfield Solutions. "Mercer replaced you with a rotating offshore team from the Kansai region hub." Of course he did. Cheaper on paper. Easier to control. Impossible to trust. 2 hours later, another message made me laugh out loud. "He called you a gatekeeper. Said you were holding to proven methods." Damn right I was. That gate had kept half of Northfield's international revenue from crumbling. But Mercer thought I was done. He had no idea I'd already started planning. By the end of that week, the Ishii delegation from Pacific Harbor Automotive announced a trip to Northfield Tower, in person, for a multi-year renewal worth $16 million. The meeting was set for Monday at 10. From my new desk at Calder & Pike, I watched it all play out through Victor's inside contacts. Julian sat in the main boardroom with Clara Wynn, his newly appointed head of strategy, 2 associate consultants, and a dial-in from the offshore hub. All fresh faces, all untested. They started soft. Coffee, greetings, polite nods. Julian led the pitch himself. Charts, buzzwords, synergy slides. He spoke about agile frameworks and cross-market integration, like he'd swallowed a consulting textbook. Mr. Ishii, leader of the delegation, stayed quiet, hands folded, eyes calm. I'd seen that silence before. It wasn't patience. It was judgment. Julian smiled wider, referring to Pacific Harbor as a legacy client. I winced. The delegation didn't. They simply waited. Then, halfway through, Mr. Ishii raised his hand slightly. "We would like to speak with Mr. Hale." Julian froze. A beat too long. "I'm afraid Mr. Hale no longer works here," he replied quickly. "We've optimized operations through a new regional support model." Mr. Ishii gave a slow nod, then spoke quietly. That was a mistake. He stood. So did the others. A single bow, no handshake. "Perhaps we will revisit discussions another time," he said, and they left. By late morning, the deal was dead. $16 million vanished before lunch. I sat back in my chair at Calder & Pike, watching the skyline shimmer through the glass. I didn't smile, didn't gloat, just watch the ripple start. Emails firing across departments, legal scrambling, panic blooming. When Pacific Harbor walks away, others follow. By mid-afternoon, Northfield's corporate legal counsel was trying to contain the damage. Someone from their EA team reached out to Calder & Pike, asking for a confidential meeting. I didn't reply. Julian had pulled the thread that held his empire together, and now it was unraveling in real time. Late that afternoon, Victor stepped into my office. "That's the big one?" he asked. I nodded once. That was Ishi. He let out a low whistle. Think they'll recover? Not soon, I said, closing my files. They broke what they didn't understand. That kind of damage doesn't heal easily. Outside, the light sank behind the skyline. A door had closed behind me, but the next one was wide open. Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Familiar number. Hey, Aaron, Julian said, voice feigning ease. Thought maybe we could explore some consulting options. Collaborate a bit, keep it discreet. The words sounded casual, but the tension in his tone betrayed him. Panic, wrapped in politeness. He needed help. Fast. I'm open to a conversation, I said. Tonight? He asked. Tomorrow, I replied. 9 sharp. My office. He hesitated, then agreed. Friday morning, he arrived 5 minutes early, that rigid leather case still in hand. His ash-gray suit was crisp, but his eyes weren't steady. I didn't offer coffee. He sat, smiled that rehearsed smile, and began, Appreciate you taking the time. With everything happening, I think there's opportunity here. I waited. We don't need to publicize anything, he continued. No titles, no announcements. Just help us smooth things over with Pacific Harbor. Quietly. I leaned back, calm. You want me to fix what you broke? He chuckled nervously. Let's not frame it like that. I nodded slowly. Sure, his brows lifted. Really? Yeah, I said. But on my terms. He shifted in his seat. What terms? You'll find out, he laughed. Too soft this time. I didn't. 20 minutes later, he was gone. No handshake this time. That weekend I started working. Not on their problem, on my plan. I stuck to my plan. Quiet, exact, and final. I wasn't going back to patch what Julian Mercer had broken. I was there to finish what he started tearing apart. Monday morning, I signed in at Northfield Tower with a temporary ID badge clipped to my belt. The receptionist barely glanced up. I took the stairs, slow on purpose, watching who was left. Faces I knew, faces I didn't. Everyone moved fast but looked uncertain. Julian was in a meeting, fine by me. I wasn't there to be noticed. By mid-afternoon, Evan Dale, one of the junior analysts, slipped me a laptop with full database access like it was no big deal. If you need anything else, email the help desk, he said. I nodded, closed it, and used my own device. In mid-afternoon, I dialed the number that mattered. Warren San? A calm voice answered. This is Aaron Hale, I said. No scripts, just facts. There was a pause long enough to be serious. Go ahead. I told him everything. How they'd been cut. How inexperienced the new team was. How easily a single misstep could undo years of trust. I didn't ask for anything. I gave him the truth. Where are you now? He asked at last. Independent, I said. Working with Calder and Pike. He was quiet again. Then maybe we do business with someone who understands partnership. And he hung up. That crack was all I needed. By Friday, I had a quiet off-site meeting at the Meridian Club. No slides, no lawyers, just Mr. Ishi's team, 3 people from Calder and Pike, and me. We laid out what we could do, what we wouldn't promise, and where we'd deliver. They didn't sign anything that day. They didn't need to. A handshake was enough. Back at Northfield, Julian's new crew kept tripping over details. I walked past a junior lead arguing into his phone about shipment numbers that didn't match the records. They didn't notice me. That was the point. I moved like a ghost, letting the damage grow louder by staying silent. The game wasn't revenge. It was leverage. The fallout arrived in strange, quiet ways. A logistics partner out of Mesa pulled their contract without a fuss. A Midwest supplier froze payments while they reviewed internal controls. Staff started leaving in pairs. Managers, support, even one of the associates Julian had imported. Calls slowed until the phone stopped ringing at all. On a Friday morning, I typed 6 words. Subject: Need to talk. Body: Let me know when you're free. 10 minutes later, Julian replied, Conference room C, 1:30. Same place he'd let me go. Appropriate. When I walked in, he looked smaller. Tie loose, eyes rimmed red. He wasn't sure whether to offer a handshake or an apology. He tried the smooth line. "We need to course correct. I think with your help we can fix this." "You talk like we're partners," I told him. "We're not." "You helped build this place," he said. "No," I answered. "I built something." "You dismantled it," he blinked. I leaned forward and said plainly, "Mr. Ishii's renewal. It's with us now." I watched the color leave his face. He said nothing. The fight left him. I stood, adjusted my cuff, and added, "I didn't do this to you. You did." Then I walked out. No speech, no gloat. Just a door closing. Northfield didn't explode. It sagged, quietly. Blinds closed on floors, lights stayed dim on half the level. The board eventually nudged Julian out. Early retirement, they called it, and brought in an interim advisor from D.C. with a silver head and big promises. Too late. The clients that mattered had already crossed the street. I didn't have to sell them. They came because we understood trust, not volume. That afternoon I met Victor Ames for lunch at a small sushi place a couple blocks from the office. As we crossed Parkview Avenue, I glanced up at Northfield Tower. It looked older somehow, like it had lost a decade overnight. The brass sign out front was starting to peel. I didn't stop or wave. I simply walked on. I'd opened a door, and the wind had finished the rest.